Now, there's a very juicy game right at the end of this weekend of football coming up that I'm very excited about, that I want to talk to you about today. We are not talking about Spurs and Arsenal in the Premier League or Leeds and Burnley in the Championship. We're going to talk about League One today, and on Monday night, under the lights, on the TV cameras at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, is it called now? I don't know, I can't keep up with stadium names, but I can keep up with the fact that Birmingham versus Wrexham might well just be the biggest match of the weekend. Certainly in the EFL, certainly the most intriguing in my humble opinion. Before we even get into the narrative, there's the current League One table. And from a purely sporting point of view, look at it. Wrexham lead the way after an absolutely fantastic start. 13 points from 5 games. And if you haven't been keeping up with this, Wrexham new to League One this season after promotion from League Two. Also new to League One, coming the opposite direction down from the Championship, are Birmingham City, who are also undefeated and have 10 points on the board. They're currently in 4th place. So, not only is it a top of the table clash, but I think we all know where we're going with this. These are two clubs with very interesting backgrounds in terms of changes of ownership recently that have made them very, reportable and drawn a lot of eyeballs to them. And you could have guessed that this game was going to be on TV. Of course, we're talking about Hollywood Wrexham, which I'm sure will massively irritate their fans. But look, perception is reality. And there are Deadpool and Iain from Mythic Quest. It's Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney, who came into Wrexham a few years ago. They were, where were they? In the National League, weren't they? And I think everyone thought it was a bit of a publicity stunt at the time, but they've been amazing for Wrexham, haven't they? And the climb we thought would happen has indeed happened, with some massive points totals. And now, I always say this about League One. League One is like probably the most unique division in English football on the basis that it's where teams like Birmingham that have, a major honour in the not too distant past and are very big clubs with a lot of Premier League history, it's where those clubs meet with clubs that frankly often have non-league setups. When I was following Ipswich in League One, we played against Morecambe and Cheltenham, Accrington Stanley, Cambridge. Cambridge is still there, in fact. And no disrespect to those clubs, absolute love to those clubs, but that's kind of the highest they tend to get. I know we sort of had Yeovil in the Championship at one point, Wycombe as well in the Championship, but hey, Wycombe dwarf even some of the clubs I've met. So you get these strange meetings of clubs, and certainly for Wrexham, I think a lot of people thought, well, okay, they'll steam their way through the National League, although there was that famous sort of head-to-head with Notts County that was brilliant there. They did go right through League Two, didn't they? But you do begin to think, well, okay, here's where the rubber really meets the road, and it's going to start to get tough now. But they've made an amazing start. However, if you want a really fun club who's going to be a real blooming weapon of mass destruction, sorry, probably not the right term to use, but in League One terms, hold my beer, because here are Birmingham City under Knighthead capital, and there are Tom Wagner and Tom Brady. And look, let's just say, in terms of Wrexham and Birmingham, we've got two massively flamboyant and sort of big and ambitious ownerships. One's done better than the other so far, because it's a bit of a disaster, wasn't it, for Knighthead Capital, who came in at the start of last season at Birmingham. Big sort of fanfare. Ultimately, they got relegated, didn't they? And a very strange relegation as well, where John Eustace was replaced by Wayne Rooney, which just completely didn't work out, who was then replaced by Tony Mowbray, who unfortunately fell unwell, who was then replaced by Gary Rowett slightly too late. utter chaos, just a ridiculous relegation. And we thought Birmingham were a financial power at Championship level. Well, I mean, at League One level, this is ridiculous. And what's the best way of phrasing this? Because us YouTubers get accused of hyperbole. Let me say two things. That Birmingham's transfer window was, I think, the most interesting in the whole of English football. And I also think the most fascinating and ambitious in the entire history of League One, the third tier of English football. Let's be quite frank about this. If Birmingham did this in the Championship without parachute payments, we'd probably be saying it was the most ambitious at Championship level. And look, we don't have time to go through each and every transfer, but let's just look at the top of that list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over €1 million according to Transfermarkt. Use whatever sources you see fit. I'll use Transfermarkt. And right at the top of that, 2 players, 4 million and 4.15 million, Williamson and Clara. And then the mother of all League One transfers, Jay Stansfield, for a gigantic amount of money. Look, let's not get into the weeds with people on the one hand accusing Birmingham of spending a small fortune on Stansfield, and then the Birmingham fans defending the amortisation policy and the contract length, and the League One laws being different to the Championship. I know, you don't need to tell me. Go and fight it out amongst yourselves in the comments. I'm going to just stay with the narrative that it is a massive transfer window for Birmingham, which kind of then gives us 2 teams that we are really, really expecting to be, well, either first and second, or certainly 2 members of the top 4, top 6. But let's mention Huddersfield, Rotherham, who came down from the Championship as well. Who else have we got to mention? Stockport as well, who came up from League Two and doing very well at the moment. And Peterborough are always there about. Apologies if I've missed your team out. It's never easy getting out of League One. And don't you dare say, oh, Benny's a Championship YouTuber doing a video on League One. Guys, I'm an Ipswich fan. I know full well what it's like, better than most after that. What was it, 4 years in the end, stuck in League One? Not as easy as it seems. So look, Monday night, just a brilliant, brilliant game. Everything about it's a brilliant setup. All the narrative I've said, and the fact that we got 2 teams, both unbeaten, both fighting at the top of the table. Add into that how we expect the game to play out, because here is Chris Davies, the Birmingham manager, a kind of young career coach, very much, to mention Ipswich again, the type of Kieran McKenna type hire, worked in big clubs at, you know, kind of, I don't exactly know Chris Davies' CV, but he's been on the staff, I think it's Spurs and at Leicester as well, correct me if I'm wrong, and he wants to play modern, progressive football. And here, other way, sorry, is Phil Parkinson, who's been around and done it and been a manager probably for 15, 20 years, hasn't he? And what's great about this matchup is that Wrexham have probably quite smartly taken the decision. They're not going to ticky-taka their way out of the National League and League Two, and they are very, very happy to sit in a low block, cross the ball into the box. They're not counting 400-500 passes every game and having a celebration on the training pitch on Monday about it. They're winning games, and they don't necessarily need the ball to do so. And it's a brilliant, brilliant clash of styles into the bargain as well. So without sounding like a commercial for Sky TV, if you're free and get the chance, check this out on Monday night. I think it's going to be brilliant, just the game on Monday. And I think the story all season, particularly pertaining to these two in the League One championship race, is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I suspect both of these will be involved, and we'll be seeing one or both in the Championship next season. Get your thoughts in the comments and head over to my weekly collaboration with Matt SB on his channel, where you can see what mine and his predictions for this mouthwatering League One top of the table clash are.